Today on Public Eye News, the new gun law is going into effect early next week in Michigan, and later, Biden denies a special counsel's reports of memory issues and mishandling of classified intel.
Our very own Nolan Schaefer will have your look at a cloudy weekend, and Luke Niddle will have your Public Eye Sports Breakdown. I'm Jackson Spencer.
And I'm Marin Parks, and this is Public Eye News. Yesterday, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services announced a new secure storage law for firearms that will be implemented starting next Tuesday, February 13th. The law, called Public Act 17 of 2023, requires that unattended firearms be locked and unloaded if a minor is likely to be on the premises. If these regulations are not followed and a minor obtains a firearm, the owner will be charged with imprisonment and/or fines as follows. If the minor exhibits the firearm in public or in front of others in a threatening or careless manner, up to 93 days of imprisonment and $500 in fines. If the gun is discharged and results in injury, up to 5 years imprisonment and $5,000 in fines. If the discharge results in serious impairment of bodily functions, up to 10 years in prison and $7,500 in fines. And finally, if the discharge results in a death, up to 15 years of imprisonment and $10,000 in fines. And here at home in Marquette, Michigan, the city of Marquette is seeking proposals for the design and construction of a new band shell to replace the previously decommissioned Presque Isle band shell, which was constructed in the late 1930s. The project is being funded by the Hirvonen Foundation, and the new band shell will be named in honor of Peg Hirvonen and his passion for philanthropy and music. This project looks to preserve the historical significance of the band shell while updating it with more modernized amenities that will better suit the Marquette community. The deadline for submissions is 11 a.m. Eastern Time on February 15th of 2024, and detailed information on the request for proposals can be found on the Bids and Proposals page of the City of Marquette's website. For more information, contact John Swenson at jswenson@marquettemi.gov.
President Joe Biden has approved the state of Michigan's request for a disaster declaration following the severe storms in August of last year. The storms included heavy rain, strong winds, and 7 tornadoes across 9 counties in downstate Michigan. Now, 6 months after the effects of the storm, the federal government accepted the request for aid. The FEMA assistance will include grants for temporary housing, home repairs, low-cost loans to cover property loss, and assistance to small businesses. The assistance will be provided for residents of Eaton, Ingham, Ionia, Kent, Livingston, Macomb, Monroe, Oakland, and Wayne counties. Anyone in an affected county can apply for assistance at www.disasterassistance.gov. Following the UP 200's second annual cancellation in a row, the Festival of the Sled Dog will return to downtown Marquette on February 16th. The UP 200 was canceled the second year in a row due to a lack of sufficient snowfall. However, the Festival of the Sled Dog will once again take place on Washington Street in the downtown strip. The festival will include a wide variety of activities such as sled dog demos, face painting, sledding, a silent auction, and live music. NMU President Brock Tessman and his family will also be present for a warm-up event at 7 p.m. Free hot chocolate, coffee, and cinnamon rolls will be served to attendees to help stay warm. The Marquette Downtown Social District will be active from 6 to 10 p.m. However, the consumption of alcohol will not be permitted after hours in social areas. Could there be a resolution in Madison over redrawing our voting maps? Today, a top Republican said they may pass Governor Evers' legislative maps without any changes, a move Evers did not rule out. WDJT's Capitol correspondent Emily Fannin has more on how this could end a costly legal battle.
While touring an elementary school in Lafayette County, Governor Evers said he's open to signing his proposed legislative maps into law if the GOP-controlled legislature passes them.
What if there's 0 changes to it and they just take your maps up as is? Is that something you would sign to bypass the courts?
Why not?
However, the governor was skeptical about that possibility after Republicans recently approved his maps with some changes that protected more GOP incumbents.
I'll believe it when I see it. They said it last time, and it wasn't my maps. It was their maps. So we'll see what happens.
The opportunity is still on the table after GOP leaders said they're open to the idea. Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu said, "We'll discuss all of our options in regards to the maps." The governor has said the only maps he'll sign is his own maps, so that's an option we might look at. It comes as the stakes are high for both Democrats and Republicans. That's because Democrats could have a chance to win more seats in the legislature after Republicans have had control of the legislature for more than than a decade.
If we did that, it would save millions of dollars of lawsuits. It would stop a partisan court from gerrymandering the state, and we would basically be giving Governor Evers a huge win.
Passing Evers' maps as is could also prevent the state Supreme Court from picking maps that are more favorable to Democrats. Last week, we also learned 2 consultants hired by the court ruled out map proposals submitted by Republicans and determined that the Democratic maps largely met the criteria that would create more fair representation here at the state capitol. Reporting in Madison, Emily Fannin, CBS 58 News.
And don't touch that dial, because after this short break, Nolan will be back with a look at the cloudy skies coming up this weekend.
Good evening, and welcome to Washington Week with The Atlantic.
Get the best context on the week's top political news from experienced journalists, led by moderator Jeffrey Goldberg.
The trial could still be going on or could start as he's president.
That could happen.
And we're looking now at possibly even a trial of the president's son.
Many people still are unclear about Biden's agenda.
Washington Week with The Atlantic, every Friday on PBS and streaming.
Hi, welcome back to Public Eye News. I'm Nolan Schaefer with your weather today. First, we'll be taking a look at our school sky cam, and as you can see, we have a very cloudy sky and very little academic mall activity. And looking at current conditions across the UP, it's a very cloudy day today. There's a little bit of rain, and we'll talk about that later. Currently in Houghton, it is 33 degrees, Ironwood, 30 degrees, Iron Mountain, 37 degrees, Menominee, 41 degrees, Escanaba, 40 degrees, Minnestique, we see some rain, and it is 39, Sault Ste. Marie, 38 and some rain, and in the lovely Marquette is 40 and cloudy. And looking further into those current conditions, we have winds out of the west-southwest at 17 miles per hour, and our barometric pressure is 29.5 and rising. And looking to tonight, we have some more cloudy conditions with a low of 29, winds out of the west at 11 miles per hour. And looking forward to tomorrow, some more cloudy conditions with a high of 31, a low of 26, and winds out of the west-northwest at 14 miles per hour. And looking forward to this weekend and the beginning of next week, we have a high of 33, a low of 24 for Sunday, and some clouds. Hopefully we'll see some sun on Monday with a high of 31, a low of 26. And on Tuesday, we have a high of 31 and a low of 25. That's all I have for weather today. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you so much for that weather update. It certainly has been a bit dreary these past couple of days, and it looks like that's not going anywhere. But let's jump right into our national news for the day. Over in Washington, D.C. yesterday, a special counsel report was released, drawing the criminal investigation into President Joe Biden's handling of classified documents to a close. The report, conducted by special counsel Robert Hur, concluded that although there was evidence that Biden retained and shared classified information, there was not sufficient evidence to warrant criminal charges. The grounds on which Hur argued for the case not meeting the standards for criminal charges, however, drew fire from Biden himself, who was dissatisfied with the picture the report painted of his mental capabilities. The report claimed that the president's memory was limited and that it was possible Biden truly had no recollection of the documents in his possession. Biden refuted these claims, stating that his memory is fully intact and that he still considers himself the most qualified candidate for the presidency. And as of this morning in Ohio, the city of Bryan moved to dismiss criminal charges against the church-turned-homeless shelter Dad's Place and its pastor, Chris Avell. The decision to dismiss code violation and first-floor residency charges comes after the filing of a counter-lawsuit by Avell, who accused the city of repeated harassment and intimidation. Though the lawsuit remains pending, mediation sessions have reportedly been productive, with both sides pursuing resolution. The case began last month when Bryan police charged Dad's Place with 18 legal violations, including improper zoning, insufficient amenities, as well as inadequate exits and ventilation. As the case continues in court, Dad's Place continues to offer shelter to those in need, reportedly seeing about 8 people per night and more during severe weather. And take hundreds of broadcasters, put them in one giant room, mix well, and you get what's called Radio Row at the Super Bowl. CBS's Steve Overmeyer has the sights and sounds of this one-of-a-kind spectacle.
And welcome back to Real Deal Sports Show.
On Radio Row, the air is charged with anticipation and enthusiasm.
Like Kellen Winslow as well.
Oh, Kellen Winslow was here.
Winslow Sr.
Did you have to carry him out?
No, that's funny. We talked about that. I said, man,
Did you have to carry him out of this place?
He's walking very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Radio Row is a symphony of voices.
It's all about, changing the game.
Each one carries a story, a prediction, or an opinion.
See how many dorks I can meet and losers. There's millions of them that show up at this thing every year. The escalation of it from radio tables and radio stations to streaming television networks and podcasters and radio has made it, it's chaos.
It's a melting pot of emotions where the love for the game unifies everyone in search of the next star to interview.
This has got to be like a smorgasbord for sports fans, especially NFL fans.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just saw Joe Montana earlier.
Would Joe Montana speak to you dressed like this right now?
I'm not sure. I didn't catch him on his way out.
And it's a steady stream of former players joining the kaleidoscope of sights and sounds to make their voice heard.
It can be overwhelming if you're like an introvert and you kind of like to stay in your own little lane.
After you've been here, you are in the books. You can say, hey, guess what? I was at Super Bowl Media Week, Radio Row. How many people can say that?
Steve Overmeyer, CBS News, Las Vegas.
Don't go anywhere. Up next is Luke Niddle's NMU Sports Breakdown. Stay tuned.
Coming up this week on High School Bowl, we wrap up our first round with two amazing matches. In our first, the defending champion Kingsford Flibbers take on Hurley. Hi, I'm Jim Koski, and then in our second matchup, it is the ultimate Copper Country death match as Houghton goes up against Hancock. We wrap up our first round this week on High School Bowl.
Welcome back to Public Eye Sports. I'm your host, Luke Niddle, and I'll be taking you through our Friday breakdown. Starting off with some college basketball, the NMU men's team returned to their winning ways last night with an 81-67 win over Parkside in the Berry. With a lead grab in the second half, the Cats went on a 17-4 run to give themselves a 17-point cushion and kept their foot on the gas to close out. Turnovers and points in the paint killed the Rangers, committing 10 turnovers and were dominated 40-22 in the post. The Lady Wildcats also prevailed over Parkside 71-60, completing the Thursday sweep. It was a choppy and sloppy game as a total of 37 free throws were attempted, with NMU trying 21 and Parkside adding another 16. Both teams will now look towards Purdue Northwest on Saturday, both home contests. And staying on the hardwood, the NBA trade deadline closed at 3 p.m. yesterday, but the Detroit Pistons were not ones to be left out. The Pistons, currently sitting at an NBA worst 8-43, made some moves to improve the overall structure of the team. Most notably, former 2020 lottery pick Killian Hayes was released. Hayes was reportedly unhappy with the team, and his camp requested a trade Sunday. The Pistons also traded Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks for Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, and Malachi Flynn from the Knicks. Minnesota acquired Monte Morris from the Pistons, trading away Shake Milton and Troy Brown. And finally, the NFL hosted their honor awards, with Lamar Jackson adding a near-unanimous second MVP to his hardware. Myles Garrett took home the Defensive Player of the Year, and the Houston Texans swept the Rookie of the Year honors, with C.J. Stroud winning the Offensive Award and Will Anderson Jr. taking home the Defensive honors. Jackson commanded the Ravens to an NFL-best 14-5 record this season, along with an AFC Championship game appearance. However, they fell just short to the Kansas City Chiefs, losing 17-10 in Baltimore. That's all I have for sports. Back to the news desk.
Thank you so much for that sports update. Did you happen to catch any of the games yesterday that were going on at NMU?
I did not. No, I did not. I heard they were good, though?
Yeah, they were quite fun. I did actually end up watching some of them. I watched especially the men's. I think they did a really great job. I'm super proud to see one of our teams consistently winning. But that is all the time that we have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Marin Parks.
I'm Jackson Spencer.
And this is Public Eye News. See you next week.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.
Thanks for watching Public Eye News. You can subscribe to our YouTube, tune into WNMU Channel 13 every weekday at 4, or follow our Instagram at NMU Penn to never miss a story.